So hi guys, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. I know there's a ton of things to do, and taking time to do this is important, but it also takes your personal time. So thank you very much for doing that. I had a chance to talk with both of you on the phone, and so I have a little bit of a sense of what happened, a little bit of a sense of how we got here. I know, Bill, you've got a house I think you fell in love with when you lived there. And it's important to you, and you talked a little bit about some of your frustrations when it came to renting that to Sarah. Also some of your expectations on the front end. So I want to understand that better, so I kind of have a little picture of that, but I want to figure some more out about it. And I talked to you, Sarah, and I know you lived there. I know you kind of fell in love with the house too. And you moved out, and the whole moving out and getting the deposit and the cost and all of that was just kind of not what you expected. And so there's a couple of things we need to get figured out. So that's where we're headed today. I want to run through just a little bit about my expectations, my role. I don't represent either one of you. I work for a nonprofit organization. I don't represent the city, so I'm kind of here, I'm the guy in the middle. And what we talked about today is confidential. It's protected by a state statute, but more than anything else, it's really there to help us feel like we're in a safe place. Because I don't want either one of you to think, oh, if I say this, then Sarah's going to run and, if we don't get an agreement, take it to small claims court, or Bill's going to run and take it to small claims court. So it needs to be a safe place, and it needs to be a place where it's confidential, so you guys feel comfortable talking about what you need to talk about. A couple of other sort of expectations is, I know you have different opinions on this. I heard that, so I know you have different opinions. I'm okay with that, but I think it's important to be respectful when you have those different opinions. You can disagree, you can argue with each other, but you have to be respectful about that. And in that respectful piece is probably a component of trying to understand. Even if you don't agree with another person's perspective, understanding it is important. I think being honest, why be here if we're not honest? And being engaged. I know you might hear something the other person says and you're thinking, you know what, I don't have to put up with this, I'm going to walk out. But no, you don't take your ball and go home. We got to work our way through this. My role is to sort of facilitate the conversation, to make certain that it keeps moving, to make certain that we're hearing each other. I'm going to take notes. When I'm all done, my goal is to write up an agreement that both of you are going, yep, we're good with that, and then you sign that. Nobody gets to walk away going, woohoo, I got everything I wanted. But you should be able to walk away satisfied that you got enough to make this a deal that works for you. And so I'll write up that agreement. The other part of my job is sometimes to push on both of you a little bit, because if it was easy to get an agreement, you wouldn't be here. So sometimes I gotta push a little bit. Your role is to really work hard at it. Sometimes it takes some hard work. And so that's your role when it comes to it. Any questions you got of me?
This confidentiality.
Yeah.
So when we go to a small claims court.
Well, first, I'm not sure. My goal is you don't go there. But go ahead.
Okay, but just if we get
Just if you did, got it.
I can't take anything from here to that?
You can't take anything that we talk about here and use it in your defense in the small claims court.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay?
Got it.
So right along those lines, what I need you to do is, and I sent you a copy of this ahead of time, so I hope you had a chance to look through that. Basically, this is just an agreement to mediate in good faith. It says a number of different things. First, it says I'm not going to make decisions for you. It says that I don't represent either one of you. It says I don't have a conflict of interest. And then it sort of goes into detail a little bit more around the confidentiality piece. It also says you're not recording it. I've got my phone out here because I need a clock, and they don't have one on the wall up there. So I've got it for that, but I'm not recording it, and I want to make sure neither one of you are recording it because, again, it's a confidential piece. And then when we're all done, I'll give you guys a survey, and you can send that in anonymously, and you can tell my boss whether I did an okay job with this or not. You okay with that?
Absolutely.
Perfect. So if you guys want to sign that, then we'll be all good to go. Good deal. Perfect. So when I talked to you on the phone, one of the things I talked about was I want to give each one of you probably 3 or 4 minutes to sort of create context, to sort of say, here's what happened from where I sit. And those are they're not gonna look the same, and that's okay. But that sort of creates, and it makes certain that the other person hears what you're thinking and feeling just without being interrupted. So I'm not gonna interrupt you, you're not gonna interrupt each other. You get 3 or 4 minutes, it's not the only time we're gonna get a chance to talk about that. We'll come back and we'll visit some of those pieces. I'll take notes as we work through. But this is sort of your chance to say, here's what I think happened. Fair enough?
Mhm.
Good. You okay going first, Bill?
No,
No?
she's the one that called the mediation. Let her
Okay,
start.
okay. That works fine.
right.
You okay with that, Sarah?
Yeah,
Or do you guys
that's
need to
totally
flip a coin?
Nah, that's
Okay,
okay. I mean, if
perfect.
he wants me to talk first, that's totally fine
Perfect.
with me.
Okay.
Well, so I am a full-time student and I also work full-time as well. And, you know, I've been living in an apartment complex, all that, and I finally found this adorable little house that wasn't too far from the light rail that I could get to school with, not too far away from my job, and has a yard and I have a dog. And the price was right, and I thought, you know what, maybe let's take a chance and try something new. So I ended up renting this house from Bill, and I was there for 2 years. And, you know, when I first moved in, he had some kind of extensive stipulations of things that I needed to worry about with the home that I didn't necessarily expect, just because after living in an apartment complex for as long as I've done in the past, you know, it wasn't as, there wasn't as much need and care involved with it, and I didn't expect that, thinking, you know,
Sure.
maybe he as the landlord would take more responsibility still, even because it's
Sure.
his home. But, you know, over the 2 years that I was there, things kind of, over time, started to disintegrate in some ways. Like, I mean, I didn't expect this with my dog, but, you know, he apparently really loves to chase squirrels, and I didn't know that because I never had a yard before.
Sure.
And so he ended up, you know, making a little run path area in the yard, and so that ruined the grass. And I do feel bad about that. I did not expect that to happen. And the other thing about the yard, though, is I have to water it 3 times a day and move this hose in like 5 different directions to make sure that every piece of the grass gets watered properly. Because there's no trees, there's no shade, nothing like that. So, in essence, you know, with the dog ruining the grass at the same time, though, I mean, it was a lot to do while working full-time job, also going to school. And then one of the other really interesting parts too was the bathroom. You know, if I didn't have it ventilated with the window open, it would create a lot of moisture, and eventually it's somehow or another this mold came in the bottom corner of the bathroom, which I do not know how it got there. I've never seen that before until, you know, Bill pointed out when I moved out. And I still, to this day, do not know whether that was my fault, because I am an extremely responsible person, and
You
I've
was,
always,
actually.
Hang on just a minute. You get a chance.
anyways, as I was saying, I've always been a responsible person, and I've always done my best to make sure that I follow the rules, do what is asked of me, and I don't know how that would have, quote unquote, slipped through the cracks.
Sure.
And with that being said too, you know, Bill's now holding my security deposit and he's also asking me to pay an extra, what is it, like $1,400 for everything all said and done, when, you know, parts of it for marks on the wall, which is, you know, normal wear and tear. Even in apartments that I lived in, I didn't get penalized for that. They just painted it right over. So some of the things that he brings up that are his issues do bug me a great deal.
Okay.
And I feel like I'm getting more or less, in layman's terms, screwed in some ways. I will take responsibility for certain things, but I feel like what he's asking of me is way more than I'm owed.
Okay, fair enough. I appreciate that. I jotted some things down. I want to come back and revisit. I jotted the little path around the place. I jotted down, actually I should get my glasses so I can read what I jotted down. The things to worry about, the pets in the grass, the watering, the bathroom window, the deposit plus, and then you said there are some things you feel responsible for. So
Absolutely.
we'll come back, we'll revisit those.
That
But I
sounds
want to
good.
give, Bill, I'm sure you have maybe a bit of a different perspective on that. So tell me what happened from where you sit.
Well, from where I sit, this is, this home, it's one that I've lived in before, and I really took good care of it, fixed it up. I had the opportunity to purchase another home and move and work with that, so I left this home. I really love this home. It's a great place. And I'm kind of almost ruined the day that I decided to rent it.
Sure.
But in any event, I did. So this is an important place to me. When I first met Sarah, she seemed responsible. I understood what she was trying to work with. She did tell me she had the dog. I did some checking at her previous place about the dog and stuff, and it apparently was not an issue. And so I did have a $500 pet deposit that I waived. Wished I hadn't have, but I did. And got Sarah, she moved in, and it was a lease that was pretty specific about what needed to happen. And we talked about watering the lawn. But just all the things that she would be responsible for. Yeah, when you live in an apartment, you're not. They take care of that. When you live in a house, it changes. It's totally different. Whether you rent the house or whether you own the house, you got to take care of it. That's the thing that brings us to where we are today.
Sure.
I don't believe she took care of it the way that we had agreed. Yeah. The yard. It was a beautiful yard. Now it's not. Things happen. Your brother moved in. I didn't have any idea your brother was going to move in. That wasn't part of our bargain. But you said, well, he's here, and he's a handyman, and he can paint your house, and he can do this, and so I'm thinking, well, maybe it's a good. We didn't do any of that. I didn't take care of the yard. He was going to paint the house. We had an agreement that I'd pay him if he wanted to paint the exterior of the house. So he power washed it, and that was as far as he got. And so that didn't follow through. I should have known then that the rest of it wasn't going to follow through. He was going to water the lawn. He was going to, because Sarah's too busy with her job and with all the stuff that's going on. But the bottom line is, he didn't do what he was going to. He moved out. The things that are there is the house that weren't taken care of, is the yard. So the yard is just a mess, and the dog made a bigger mess. So part of the charge was for repairing the yard and the landscaping. An awning. I've got an awning on the house. Sarah fires up the chimney outside underneath the awning. Really surprised that it got all smoked up. And
Tough on awnings, huh?
yeah. Gee, why do you want to charge me for the awning? That's part of the charges and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, the venting of the bathroom, I told her, I said, right up front, there is not a fan. You're going to be using the run in the shower and steam it up. Crack the window some, let the moisture out, and that'll keep any mold from building up. Mold buildup, I wonder why. It's just stuff like that.
Okay.
That brings me to where I am, and yes, my total charges come up to, I think, about $2,600. I took her security deposit of $1,200 against that, and she owes me another $1,400.
So 26 is a pretty healthy number.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't want to do that, but it just, God, it's just not I'm not happy. That's where I am today, and I think somebody should be responsible for the damage to my home, other than me.
So hopefully when we get all done, you can be a little happier.
I-
We might not be able to make you all happy, but a little happier. We'll try that. So
Okay.
let me ask you a couple of questions. And I jotted down things from your conversation, same as I did for Sarah. The one thing that jumped out at me was, you said you really loved the home. It was really special to you.
Still is.
And I think that's probably an interesting, important component of also what we need to think about, because as I'm listening to both of you, you chose it because it was this cute little home. As I said. You moved out with some regret because you loved it. So there's, on one level, there's a kind of, both of you really liked the place, but at the same time, it seems like it caused both of you a fair amount of headache. So we'll try to sort through that. You were there 2 years, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So did you guys check in during that 2-year period? Did you swim by the house? Did you see how things were going? Did you ask Sarah, hey, is the watering going okay? Did you have problems with the window and go, hey, Bill, what about the, I mean, did you
No.
guys talk at all doing that, or what happened?
One thing I'll say right off the bat, I always crack that window. Even in
Okay.
the wintertime when it was freezing cold outside, I
So
always made sure.
when you say crack the window, I mean, it gets really cold around here sometimes, so is that like, what's crack the window?
So it depends. Like if it was like the summertime, you know, there was a screen on it, thank goodness. So I would open it more so when it was the summertime. But during the wintertime, I probably would say it was more or less like
Okay.
about that much. Because I didn't want all the cold air coming
Yeah.
in, but I also wanted to still do what Bill asked
You don't
of
want
me.
to shiver in the shower, got it?
Yeah, but I still did exactly what Bill asked of
Sure.
me, which was to crack the window,
Sure.
make sure there's ventilation. I would even open the bathroom door to make sure that there was some
Some
flow
flow.
going in and out.
Yeah.
And again, I still do not know how that happened, but honestly, Bill wasn't there a whole lot, and I do think that's because he had faith in me. And I feel there's definitely some guilt behind it, because things did go wrong. I don't feel like it was completely my fault. The George thing, yes, that was on me. And I would say that probably when George was there was the most Bill
George
really
is
came
your
by.
brother, right?
Yes, he's my idiot little brother, and I was trying to be a nice big sister and help him out in the time of need, and he ended up, you know, letting me down, making my life more difficult too, as well as Bill and his beloved home.
Sure, sure.
So, and I do take responsibility for that, even though he is a grown man, and I thought that he was gonna do me right. He did not.
Yeah. So I don't know if this helps at all, but I do want to point out that Sarah says she felt really bad about that, and she felt a little bit guilty. So it may not help on the bill, but I just want you to hear that she was frustrated with
I
that
hear
too.
that.
Let me ask about the window. Is that kind of what you guys talked about on the window, or when you said you went through the house?
I think I said that, you know, crack it at least an inch.
Okay.
I lived there for 6 or 7 years, and I never had a problem. That's why I'm wondering now why all of a sudden after 2 years there's a problem. So that's what that really boils down to. And if she says she cracked it, you know, I suspect she did, but the fact is the mold grew, and that's troublesome.
Well, what if the
And I
mold was
had to-
already there, and we just didn't see it, and it just grew? Because I mean, you hadn't been in that home for 2 years.
See these? I see things.
I see that you need those to see.
Yeah, well, and I don't shower with them, you're absolutely right. But I didn't, that wasn't fair.
So we're not questioning that the window was cracked. We're both agreeing that you said it was cracked, you cracked it every single time, you're saying, yeah, it was about an inch, it's just, how did the mold get there?
Yeah, and I painted everything inside that house.
When you painted in the bathroom, I mean, you got the house, was it all perfect when you got it, or?
No, it wasn't, I did a lot of remodeling.
So probably
And I did painting because I knew I was gonna rent it. I
Sure.
wanted it to really look good.
Sure.
Did you check for mold before you painted?
I didn't see the mold when I painted, so in my mind, it wasn't there.
So probably not, but maybe. We don't know for sure about the mold, right?
I'm pretty sure. it
Pretty
wasn't.
sure? Okay, fair enough. The one thing my kid takes a hot shower a lot longer than me. And so if we're doing comparisons between whether I'm gonna, get the bathroom all steamed up, I think he on purpose just gets the bathroom all steamed up because he likes it. So maybe you guys just took different length showers and it had a different kind of an effect. So at any rate, you're saying when you moved in, or when you came back to inspect and sort of take over the house, it had some mold in the bathroom. Okay, got it. And your remedy for that was painting it over, or what?
No, I was spraying some moldicide or whatever that stuff is called. And yeah, then I had to repaint.
Okay.
And that's-
Did you have to hire somebody, or did you do that?
I did that. I did
Okay.
most of the work myself simply because I don't
Sure.
have that. And part of it too is that I'd asked Sarah, as she was moving out, kind of pointed out the things that were there and gave her the opportunity to fix them.
Really?
She didn't, walked away. The marks on the wall.
You're gonna paint those over yourself. I mean, why would I
Yeah,
have to do
that's
that?
right. I wound up painting them over myself.
Oh,
You're
I've
absolutely
never
right.
had to do that
So
before.
let me check though. I mean, did you and Bill walk through sort of that checkout list and
We
you
did, but
guys-
we weren't in agreement when we were done with it, that I thought, maybe either we could talk about it some more, or I guess now we're led to mediation to talk about it some more, but I wasn't comfortable with where the walkthrough went, so I wasn't necessarily gonna go ahead and do everything.
Sure,
I didn't feel like it was fair.
sure. Okay, fair enough. So you did most of the work. And,
Except for the awning.
yeah, I'll come back to the idea in a minute. I'm a little intrigued about the whole grass thing. Help me
Okay.
understand this grass thing. When you said you had to water 3 times a day, I mean, that's like, you could create a swamp in 3 times a day, so what,
I mean, that's what I was told from Bill, is, he wants to make sure that this lawn is always watered and healthy and vibrant, and I did my best, and honestly, 3 times a day I thought was a little excessive too, minus when it was really sunny out, then I would agree to doing that, but, I mean, it was just over the top, and, I mean, it's a big yard, I mean,
I was
it's-
thinking maybe 3 sections that you had to cover each day, as opposed to 3 times. Anyway,
Well-
well, tell me about the lot.
The lawn is big, and I water it frequently, and that keeps it really nice and green and fresh. And the frequency was that I would find myself out watering 2 to 3 times a day. That's what we talked about. And it didn't happen, apparently, because now it's all brown. And
It's not all brown.
most of it's brown, or it,
It's not as healthy as you.
absolutely, it wasn't like it was when I handed it to you.
Okay, let me ask you this. What were you doing in your time there living at home? Were you mostly taking care of that home? Were you going to school and working a full-time job, at all of that at once while taking care of that home? Or did you have a little more free time? And you did give up this home for me to rent, so.
That's correct.
And
No,
if you
I,
cared so much, you could have come by and checked it out and made sure I was doing things correctly.
would
Was
you,
your first
would
time
you have
renting
taken
out.
care of it then, or would, if
You
I?
know, I might have, but
Might have.
I might have.
So that part we really don't know about. I mean, it doesn't sound like you came by very often,
I did.
right? Okay.
I didn't think I needed to.
Well,
She
but
seemed to be
I
responsible.
understand, but.
Seemed.
I understand, but sometimes when we make assumptions, it gets us in trouble.
Okay.
Gotcha. on that
Okay.
one. So, on the other hand, when you guys started, I think you said that you and Bill sort of walked through all the pieces that were supposed to happen.
We did.
So you sort of knew that this might
I
be a
did,
high
but I
maintenance
didn't
house.
think it was actually gonna be as high maintenance as it ended up being. I really didn't, especially with finishing up school and working
Sure.
too. I thought, you know what, I can do all that, it's not that big of
I'm a
a
high
deal.
maintenance kind of guy.
I know.
I understand that from both of your perspectives. I think one of the things I want to point out is a lot of times we get in conflict when we make assumptions. And you guys both made some assumptions and then it didn't work out. And that kind of came back to create some problems. So we need to figure out how to back up from that and find some solutions to that. So if we look at the lawn, what's needed to get that lawn back in shape? Is it just a matter of watering it back to get it alive again, or what needs to happen?
I was looking at having it resodded, and it was gonna be a $700 bill to resod the areas that were dead, or all brown and stuff, so. And then there was some landscaping that seemed to have gone by the wayside also and died. Probably watering, extensive watering, might bring that back.
Yeah, because, I mean, resodding is that's a pretty big job.
Yeah. But I didn't want to have to spend my time re-watering
Sure.
and watering and watering. What I'd like to do is rent the house and leave the new tenant alone. But if I do that, I've got to do a lot of watering and stuff.
Sure.
I've already lost a month's rent just because it's taken me that long to get my place back in shape. So we didn't talk to, that's not even part of the billing. That's just on me.
Sure,
But- So, yeah, I expect I could probably water and get that back. The landscaping is dead.
It is, okay.
That is dead. And I think what I was saying was $400 for landscaping.
And is that you doing the landscaping, or is that someone you were hiring to do it too?
It's just the cost of plant. I probably would do it myself simply because I can't. It's just the cost of the plants and the tree, all the stuff that died.
There were no trees in the backyard.
No, I'm talking not trees, bushes, and I mean, just all of that stuff
I was
that died.
So let's leave the landscaping at 400 right now. So I got that here.
Okay.
There's still a lawn piece, and I think with the lawn piece, you said you could probably water that. It'll be an inconvenience, gonna cost some more water, gonna cost some more time. So there is a commitment on that, but that's one of the pieces. Some of the other things that we need to figure out and we need to get to, because I wanna make sure I got my list correct, is we've got the chimenea and the awning. And I don't really know what's going on with that because we haven't talked about that, but, so that's one piece. We have talked about the lawn, the landscaping, we've talked about the bathroom window and that, we've talked about, or at least identified the marks on the wall. Haven't really talked too much about, are those, big deals? Did you have to spackle them or fill them, or did you just, put some paint on them or scrub them, or we'll get back to what that looks like. The whole brother thing and the painting the house, I don't know exactly what's going on with that, so we'll come back to that. And the dog, it sounds like the only thing the dog really created problems with was the little, chasing the squirrels around the house and leave a dog path. Am I missing any particular piece on that, or are those kind of things we need to look through?
Sounds good to me.
That's pretty much everything.
Is that okay? Okay, I'm gonna do a timeout
Mhm.
along. Hopefully you're following that and it's making sense to you as you go. That flow took us about 30 minutes to move its way through from the opening all the way to what I just did was the topic summary. I looked at my sheet of paper here, and if you never read my writing, but on my sheet as I'm taking notes like this, you'll notice that I kept a lot of eye contact. I didn't want to bury my head in here, but in this particular, and my notes are always, they're just different, they have to work for the given situation. But in this one, you've got Sarah over here, because she talked first, and I just listed out the points from Sarah, and you've got Bill here, and I just listed out the points. I came back to a couple of them. That's what we call the exchange. That's where they're arguing about it, they're talking about the window, they're talking about why you should do this, shouldn't do that. That's the most unpredictable and sort of the rough and tumble part of the mediation, because you never know exactly where that's gonna go. In the instance of the bathroom window and in the instance of the landscaping, I started pushing them just a little bit into what might work. And so we started into that sort of option generation spot, where you see Bill going, hey, I'm doing a lot of the work myself. In my mind, I'm thinking, there's a difference between Bill's retired, he's got some extra time, and so in my mind, I'm thinking, it's not like he had to lay that money out in cash. I want to acknowledge the hard work, I want to acknowledge the time that he spent on it, I want to get all of that, I want to make sure Sarah realizes that there's a cash value to that, but it's different than hiring somebody out to actually do it. And so in the back of my mind, right over here in this corner, I'm thinking there's some negotiation room there. There's actual cost versus sort of sweat equity cost. So I'm thinking about where might we go with that as we begin to develop options and move